Welcome to Mommispace. My name is Brianna Bernhard, your hostess, and I am a new mom. I selfishly created this podcast to get some advice and inspiration from the moms in my community who are doing amazing things while raising their families. I've realized motherhood is hard, but knowing I'm not alone in this call makes all the difference, and I hope you feel refreshed as you listen. Welcome to the tribe. Welcome to Mommispace. This is Bree, and today I'm here with Betsy Darling. Betsy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and talk with you this morning.
Awesome. Me too. I know Betsy from our church, our home church, Inland Vineyard, and we have connected a couple times, but I'm so excited to chat with you because I wanted to hear more about your journey into motherhood, as well as what you do for work and all of that good stuff. So before we dive in, would you just share with our audience a little bit about yourself and your family and where you guys are located?
Yes. So, yes, my name is Betsy Darling, and I have been married to my husband, Jace, almost 8 years. So we'll be celebrating in
Wow.
April.
That's so
Yeah. And I'm a
great.
mommy to two. So we have two boys. James is 4, and Henry is our day after Christmas baby. So he just turned 2. So it's
Oh,
busy, busy. I know.
that's so
It is
cool.
so fun. So I'm a full-fledged boy mom,
Nice.
outnumbered by all boys in my house.
Wow.
And we live really close to church. So we're in the Corona Riverside area,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been here for about 2 years. And then prior to that, we were in Chino Hills. So we decided
Cool.
to kind of move and settle down, find a great church for our family, and
That's great.
do that. So my husband, we have a family business, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm in direct sales. So both of us are kind of leading our businesses together.
Wow.
So we do that. And then in between, just crazy life with our boys.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I do want to have you share a little bit about your work journey and what that looks like right now as far as raising your kiddos. But before we go there, would you share like what your journey into motherhood looked like? Were you guys planning on having kids? Yeah, tell us about that.
Yes. I feel like, my family and friends would tell you, like, even when I was young, I feel like my job was to be a mom. Like, that was what
Aw.
I was made to be.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
so I was always involved in different ministries, children's and youth and junior high and high school. And then when we got married, um, we actually kind of hit a few bumps in the road, with infertility issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Wow.
and I don't mind sharing, but
Yeah, yeah.
I was questionably diagnosed with endometriosis and
Wow.
ovarian issues. And so when we were married, I basically just had fainting spells and different doctors and different specialists. And so we weren't sure if we'd be able to have kids. And so about a year into our marriage, I had a surgery to confirm the endometriosis and kind of repair some things that I had issues with.
Yeah.
And so our specialist, who I love, she was a believer also. So we were
Oh,
praying
cool.
together, and she was like,
Wow.
this is going to do it. Like, I know it.
Mm.
And so, but still, a year later, we still weren't able to get pregnant. And so we really, just kind of went through that journey. I'd say it was harder on us at different times, but
Wow.
I had days of just, what seemed like despair, and days where, I had hope and felt like this isn't the end of our journey. And so we basically had started trying to get pregnant right away. So
Wow.
about 2.5 years later, it was actually my brother's birthday. He had turned 21, and it was Christmas week. I probably funded Clear Blue for years, pregnancy test,
Wow.
but we took
Yeah.
one, and it was in the early morning, and I almost threw it away, and I read it, and I was like, it was one, like the digital one that actually
Mm-hmm.
said pregnant. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what?
No
And so I
way.
went in and I thought in my head, like, do something cute, like think of a cute way to tell your husband,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Mm-hmm.
just bawled my eyes out. And he thought I was injured. He
Oh,
was like,
oh my
Betsy, what's the matter? And
gosh.
I showed him. And so he was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Oh,
So
that's so precious.
we, yes, and we didn't, know what would happen. I had done every test. He had done every test. And so about 2.5 years later, we found out we were pregnant. And so
Wow.
yeah, I loved it. I actually loved being pregnant.
Oh,
I just felt like, you know, how much of a miracle
yeah.
getting pregnant is, and then
Yeah.
how much of a miracle gestation is carrying a baby, and then how
No
much of a
kidding.
miracle childbirth is. Like
Yeah.
all of it was just very real to me. And so, oh my gosh, I just get choked up. So
Oh, I
we,
love it.
we found out we're having a boy, and so we named him after Jace's dad. And
Wow.
then soon after he was born, basically they, told us we either need to put you on a different plan or we need to keep trying to get pregnant.
Wow.
So it took us about another year, and we had Henry.
Wow.
So Henry came as a complete result of prayer.
Wow.
From Jace's family. They specifically prayed for us and taught us something I'll share later too. I feel like
Yeah.
on my heart, like to um, what I feel like I struggled with that whole time trying to get pregnant with my first baby was pray it, Betsy, they would say, but believe it, like believe God for it. And
Yes.
so
So good.
I've never lived my prayer life like that. And so
Mm.
when they did, Jace and I decided we're going to be changing our lives. We're going to be changing our prayer journeys. We're going to be changing, how our family is, ran believing in prayer. And so that month we got pregnant. So
Wow.
it's just like
Ah.
just an amazing journey. And so to say that I'm thankful is like an understatement. So
Wow. That's
we
amazing.
are blessed with two boys. So we, especially me, I feel like I have such a heart for it, and women who are going through infertility
Mm-hmm.
problems,
Mm-hmm.
or women who, it in so many different levels, you can feel alone. You can feel
Yeah.
alone, getting a surprise pregnancy or not getting pregnant. We have friends that haven't been able to, friends that have
Yeah.
adopted. I just feel like, um, however anyone becomes a mommy, like it's just such
Yeah.
a blessing.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful and really good perspective as far as, if you are struggling with that, like in that area and you are a believer, just the power of believing those prayers, I think
Yes.
is so significant. Yeah, that's so good. I'm sure we can talk more about that in a little bit, but what does life look like for you guys in this season with raising your two boys and growing businesses? Is your business like both you and your husband, you both work on it, or do you both have your own? What does that look like?
We both have our own, which we found is better.
Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yes, well, my husband's business is our family company. We do, construction and remodeling,
Mm-hmm.
and his dad opened the company about 16 years ago.
Okay.
So, he has been working there ever since he was probably, I don't know, 19 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so he is kind of, becoming a general manager to take over the family company within a few years.
Wow.
So that definitely has its blessings and curses, as
Sure.
in there's no schedule for him. It's all day, most every day. We really try to reserve Sundays as family and church day.
Mm.
But owning your own business, things can come up, especially in the construction
Mm.
industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, we do that together. I'll help him. And so I actually got my undergrad, in marketing and public relations. And then I got my master's in business,
Wow.
from Hope International after
Oh,
that.
cool.
So I very much have the drive, to work.
Yeah.
So when we kind of had a struggle getting pregnant, I just poured myself into my work,
Mm.
which was for an engineering company, and climbed that corporate ladder, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when James was born, I had every intention of going back to work full
Mm-hmm.
time. And
Mm-hmm.
then the day he arrived, I told Jace, our world is not
Yeah.
as we know it.
Yeah.
So thankfully, we, James was probably about a year and a half. We, again, like just trusted God and took a leap of faith to stay home. And so I just supported him.
Wow.
And then, we kind of, take it one step at a time and see how it
Yeah.
goes. But honestly, down to like dollars, God provided that first year. It was
Wow.
amazing looking back, at everything, and, going from a, corporate salary to then
Yeah.
nothing was a
Yeah.
huge adjustment. And so, we just feel super blessed, and, becoming a mommy was the best thing, but going from full-time, international corporation to
Yeah.
mommy, sometimes I joke with my girlfriends, I'm like, I feel like even being a stay-at-home mommy is more strategic planning than
Oh my
being in the
gosh.
corporate environment.
Totally.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Oh, wow.
So just kind of after each baby, I feel like I go through this period of trying to re-identify myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so figuring out who I am and what my needs are. So, just about 3 months ago, I
Mm-hmm.
decided to go into direct sales, and, with some other mama friends that were from a Bible study, and I've loved it. So
Wow.
we kind of figured, my husband and I, we're here to support each other, but it's best if we run with our own
Mm.
companies, and then we can, work to, bounce ideas off of each other.
Yeah.
But, we love that. So the
That's
week
so
is
great.
a little bit more hectic doing that, balancing mommy and business without,
Yeah.
being on my phone or my computer all the time.
Yeah.
So, we kind of, well, I reserve Mondays and Fridays as like outing, like beach or indoor play place or a jump
Mm-hmm.
park or something like that with them. And then Tuesday through Thursday, James goes to preschool half day. So it's me and Henry learning time in the morning. So
Nice.
he's with me now. You might hear little
Oh, sweet.
mumbles and
I love it.
puzzle noises in the background. So we, try to give me and Henry time,
Yeah.
my littlest, during the time when James is in school for learning and growing. And then, I try to do most of my business stuff during nap time, early morning, and then when they go to bed.
Wow.
So, yeah, but we kind of try to, um, work our businesses, have them on errands with us and show them,
Mm.
and then just, balance it out. But it's daily. I would say
Yeah.
I'm a schedule person, but obviously I just have had to learn to adapt with my kiddos.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, if anything in life is
Yeah.
going to teach us to adapt, it's having kids, I would imagine. So, I mean, I'm still learning
Yes.
that right now. It's
Yeah.
a little bit easier because my baby's still little and I just have one. But I mean,
Yes.
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love to ask moms like about what brings them joy in life. It sounds like working in business, that stuff like gives you
Mhm.
energy and joy in life. But are there other things that fuel your passions in life? Anything there?
I would definitely say just being surrounded by family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like, and I say it all the time, people will say like it takes a village, but it
Yeah.
really does. And for me too, it's been, a big year or season of like stepping out of my comfort zone too. So I've
Mm.
been just totally blessed by getting to know you and,
Mm.
the women in the church. And it really kind of was me sitting in like the back row being quiet for a
Mm.
while. And then I realized, no, I need more. Like I need close moms. I need, the Bible talks about covenant friends, like friends that I can grow in the
Yes.
Lord together with. And my soul just really like is thirsty for that. And so, not only is it, for me and personal development, but personally, it was me stepping out of my comfort zone as a mama and not
Mm.
knowing, are my kids going to behave or not? Or,
Yeah.
is it nap
Yeah.
time or not? Or is it snack time or not? But just kind of letting them have fun, and then me get to meet other moms to realize, we're not alone. So
Yeah. That's good.
that's definitely with family, with friends and new friends.
Yeah.
It's hard. I feel like that's really hard when you're a mom, like it feels like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh, I'm back in high school again. Getting to know
totally.
friends is hard,
It's so
but
true.
everyone's in the same boat. So
Yeah.
I feel like people definitely fuel me, even, you know, sometimes when it's hard to go out there.
Mm-hmm. Totally. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but I like to ask moms, like, how do you stay inspired in the day to day, as well as managing your time and your heart amidst all of the stuff that goes on with our lives?
Yes. I would say trying to just slow it down, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Slow it down. I try to start my day. This has been something in 2017 I started, but
Mm-hmm.
starting my day, opening my Bible first, even if it is on my phone, like before I
Mm.
check messages. Um, the past year was also, as I mentioned, us praying for our Henry, being thankful in our prayers and believing in the
Mm.
faith that God will answer our prayers
Mm-hmm.
and however he chooses for that to look like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, it really is about being thankful and remembering that. So I play worship music a lot. My kids, we
Mm.
always have music on. Um, we love to go outside. So
Mm-hmm.
it really, for me, because I can be anxious or distracted by a lot of busyness, I
Mm-hmm.
like to just take it down a notch, put on some worship music, be a little silly,
That's awesome.
but just to keep it simple.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah.
Very cool. I really like to kind of get ideas from different mamas, like on how they like tend to their heart week to week. Do you have like specific things that you do just for you that like kids aren't involved in, or even if husband isn't involved in, like things that just kind of center you again, besides like diving into the word, which I think is so necessary. But yeah, any like other things like that?
I love running errands by myself
Yes.
some days. So sometimes I'll have either Jace's mom, we're super blessed with both of our moms pretty close by.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to get like to spoil myself with a pedicure every now and
Mm.
then or a bubble bath. Definitely like relaxation I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not these days, I feel like I'm not much of a shopper for myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I love to just even wander the aisles peacefully or,
Yeah.
who knows, like just go walk around different stores or go, in Hobby Lobby or
Yes.
Home Goods and just kind of walk around or grab a smoothie or do something where I'm not on a time limit. I feel like
Yeah.
my errands are very short and,
Yeah.
loud. So finding the quiet time is definitely so good. Um, and then even just lately, just scheduling time to go out with my girlfriends, and that's okay. Getting a
Mm.
sitter, even if my husband's not home, for 2 hours to go and just have some me time. That
Yeah.
was super hard for me in the beginning. I remember going out once to Target and like, I think he watched the kids, but it was an evening and I wanted to come home. Like I didn't know what to do by myself. And I realized like, wow, Betsy, like find yourself, be okay by yourself. So it
Mm.
took me a while to do that. And it's been so good to
That's
be okay
awesome.
being by myself, I think, and being quiet and hearing
Mm.
different sounds or hearing my own
Mm.
music or,
Mm.
but I definitely think finding that quiet time, even if it's a quick bubble bath when the kids are in bed or, um, opening the door and listening to something,
Mm.
in the afternoon when they're napping. So
That's
the
great.
quiet time with no distractions, no TV, no phone, no nothing is like
Yes.
been really good for me.
That's good. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you experienced mom guilt? And if so, how do you overcome it?
Yes. That was so funny because I literally told my husband that this morning. I'm like, the
No
mom
way.
guilt is
Oh
real.
my
It's
gosh, that's
real,
so
Jace.
funny.
Yes. And I feel like it is so real every
Mm.
day, literally every day. And I feel like the mom guilt just kind of comes with the territory, I feel like, as a mom. And I've been finding lately there's increased mom guilt with multiple, well, at least I see, with multiple children, because I have mom guilt over, I did this with James, I did this with Henry, which way's the right way, or, and the thing that's hard too with social media, I feel like, is, you know, you see everything like across the world, what people are
Yeah.
doing and filters and whatnot. And so it can be very deceiving. So my mom guilt very quickly turns into anxiety. That's like the form that mine takes. I start thinking like, oh my goodness, I'm not doing this right. Or I did this with James, I'm doing this different with Henry. And
Yeah.
it is super tricky when you think you have things figured out and then they change and grow. And so when you have two, they have two personalities. And I can't even imagine those amazing mamas with multiple children.
Wow.
So for me, anxiety is, if people have experienced it, I feel like most do,
Yeah.
but for some people, they haven't. And so it's really hard to explain.
Yeah.
And do you hear a mama?
Oh,
My
so
little one's climbing
sweet.
right beside me. Hi, baby.
I love it.
So for me, I just cling to the word and I tell myself that this mom guilt, it's a lie. Like, it's not truth.
Yeah.
Like, we, are doing the best we can and loving our babies. And so, I actually wrote this down because I felt like I wanted to share this.
Yeah.
So, the verse that was my verse last year. Thank you.
Oh, buddy. So
He's giving me
cute.
strawberries.
Aw.
Was which is a funny verse because it was a memory verse for me last year, but it's just one we've probably, a lot of us have heard, but it's Philippians 4:6-7. So what's interesting is when I had to memorize it, I feel like I always knew the verse to be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, make your requests be made known to God. But when I memorized it, I realized I was missing the most critical part. It says, with thanksgiving, make your requests be known. And so I feel like that was like really like God speaking to me in that verse, because I wasn't being thankful every day for all the chaos or the distractions, and even that. And so that verse continues to say, the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. And I feel like mom guilt is such an attack from Satan that, we're inadequate and that we're not enough and that we're doing a terrible job and we're failing our kids, or, we're failing our husband, or who are we, what are we doing? And so it's a very like easy spiral, at least for me, to then becoming so disappointed in even myself. And so this verse is something I really clung to last year, that Christ just wants to guard us like he wants, as we're his children, and we want to guard our children and tell them all the good things about them. And so, one thing I really have been learning is to know what's truth and what's lie. And so, even just to speak, the word out, or just to speak good and blessings, and truth. This mom guilt thing is so crazy.
Yeah. So
and I feel
good.
like, if we can just all support each other and, try to build each other up and be thankful, that's what God, wants as we're his children.
Totally. I love that.
Oh, but that is hard to do, sister.
Yeah, it is for sure.
I'm like
that's
in
like
the moment.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. Yeah, that's definitely there are things we can do to like help overcome it. But it is like day to day.
Yes.
Yeah, just returning to those things. I love that verse. That whole chapter is like one of my favorites.
It's so good.
It's so good. Wow. Okay, cool. Well, I also love to talk about legacy. And when you hear that word, like, what do you think about when you want to leave a legacy to your boys?
That's a tough one. And I think it's so important. I think the foundation is just love, to love others
Mm.
and to love each other. Um, I want my kids to remember me, with my Bible open, even if coffee spilled on it or milk spilled on it,
Mm.
I really, I want them to remember that. And, um, becoming a mom of boys, I don't know, I haven't raised girls, but I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes it can be overwhelming thinking of raising men and men who
Mm.
I want to be a leader and to be a strong husband. And so,
Yeah, that's good.
when they look at me, I want them to know that God is first in my life.
Yeah.
And I want them to know that my husband is second, like,
Yeah.
and then my children. And those
Mm-hmm.
are my roles as a mom and as a wife. And so I try to show them not only what a mom is like, but what a wife is like. Cause I just want,
Mm.
I get choked up thinking, but I just want the
Yeah.
best wives for them. And more importantly, I want them to be the leaders. And
Mm.
so I guess sometimes I think like, oh, I'm a girl, I'm so different from them. But then I have to remember there's so much for me to show them, and for them to see. And,
Yeah.
um, but I also want them to remember me as, coming down to their level. And that's something I struggle with,
Mm.
to just get dirty and to play and get on the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
And so that goes out of my, comfort zone sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
because I get busy or whatever. But,
Mm-hmm.
I think just to love and however that looks best for,
Mm-hmm.
people is, I don't know.
That's
That's what I've got.
great. That's so good. Yeah, I love you saying too, like getting on their level. I think that's so good. It just reminds me of Jesus, like telling the kids to come to him and like reminding
Yes.
ourselves, like, there's a lot to learn at their level.
Yes.
And like, yeah,
Yes.
that's so good.
And
Good
there's so,
perspective.
yeah, and there's so much for them to teach us.
Oh,
And I
totally.
just, like you said, there's a story that I read with them, how, that same passage you're speaking about, how people were saying, Jesus is too busy. Like, don't
Yeah,
bother him.
that's
Don't. And he
right.
said, no, I want
Yeah,
all of you to be like children. I want you all
yeah,
to come to me like they do.
yeah,
And it's very humbling for me,
totally.
especially when I'm like literally looking at a very messy kitchen and spilled
Yeah.
milk on the floor, you know.
Mm,
But to
wow.
just be like a child mind would,
Yeah,
I don't know, be
that's
amazing.
great. That's so good. Oh, Betsy, thank you for that.
Yay.
Such good perspective. Before we wrap it up, I like to end with some fun questions just because.
Yes.
The first would be, do you have a favorite product for yourself or for your kids that you feel like you could not live without at this moment?
Um, Definitely. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
candles and bath salts.
Ooh,
I
yes.
love anything to smell good, even if my house is a disaster. I
Yeah.
feel like candles can keep me together. And
Yeah.
bath salt, something for you that's for no one else.
Yes.
And so I have like lavender ones and different scents,
Aw.
but I just like the boys are not interested, so it's
Yeah.
like just my thing. And then we have a NutriBullet. I don't know,
Ooh,
like it's like a
yes.
little teeny little thing. So that is super handy because I make us like smoothies or
Love
applesauce,
it.
or you could do baby food in it, but
Uh-huh.
we do, like protein shakes or different kinds of things. You can sneak veggies in it and they have no
Yep.
idea. So that is my lifesaver a lot of days for
Nice.
snacks. So that I say I can't live without, because I actually burnt one out and I was really sad. I tried making
Oh
hummus and
man.
it smoked on me. It exploded almost.
No. Oh
So I
my
got another one.
gosh.
But I think that's a fun gadget that's not too expensive to have,
Sweet.
because you could make baby food or smoothies or, whatever. So
Yeah.
we use that all, like almost every day.
Oh, perfect. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then do you guys have a favorite holiday family tradition that you share?
Oh, my husband is the biggest Christmas. We all love Christmas.
Oh.
So funny story. So his family grew up with this really old, I think it was Avon, like an advent calendar. And
Yeah.
so when we got married, he said, "Oh, what a bummer. I'm not gonna, that was for some his favorite thing." And so I thought, well, I know people who sell Avon, or I can find one. Nowhere.
No.
Literally, I paid $100 on eBay
You're
because I
kidding.
found one. Yes. So it was like one of our gifts, like when we got married. And so,
Wow.
I was so excited. It's super cheesy and like raggedy kind of looking,
Aw.
but he loved it. So every morning now that James is 4, they race out of bed every morning, for, let's see, December 1st through the 24th. So we'll
That's
all sneak
so
out of bed to
cute.
see who can move it first. And I mean, it's not religious or anything, but
Yeah.
we crack up because James will just pop out of bed super early, run out, and then go back to bed. Or,
Oh my gosh.
Jace will move it if he leaves early, or I'll try to move it. And so it becomes this like really fun competition.
Aw, that's so cute. I'm literally looking it up right
So
now because I
we
want to see what it
just
looks like.
are
Oh,
you
that's
should
so
I'll send you a
cute.
picture.
Yeah.
It is like so cheesy. My mom, like, and people who see it are like, well, that's interesting. But Jace loves it. And James thinks it's so funny because there's a little mouse you move from day to day.
Yes.
And so,
I literally just
um,
Googled it and it's
did you?
precious. Yes. So
Yeah.
cute.
I wonder
That's
if you
so
could find it
fun.
way cheaper than I did. But,
Oh, I don't
oh,
know. It's,
I'm,
yeah, the thought that is
yeah.
the sweetest part about it. I love
I'm,
that.
we're like super cheesy. We have Christmas
Aw.
decorations from my family, from Jace's grandma. He will not turn down hand-me-down decorations.
Oh, that's
So
so funny.
our
That's like, I
our
feel like that
house,
can be rare for a guy to be like
yes,
that into it. I love it.
yes.
That's
Isn't
so
that
sweet.
funny? I know you'd think
Yes.
it would be me doing that,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's him. So I would say that's
Ah,
definitely our favorite fun thing, except that
awesome.
I do think James wakes up extraordinarily early for it.
Oh, that's so funny.
But it'll be cute
Aw,
because I bet next
cute.
year he and Henry will be racing down the hall
Oh,
for it.
totally.
So it's fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then last question would be a piece of advice you'd give to a new mom.
I would say to lower your expectations on yourself.
Mm,
And with that hand in hand, the biggest thing, well, and you might have experienced this too, even before
mm.
babies, is expectations, even when you're newly married.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. Good point.
and so when children come into play, everything to your time changes, your responsibilities change. So I would say
Yeah.
for me, I went in with extremely high expectations on myself. And
Mm,
so realistically, I had to lower them and let my children,
yeah.
find the way they learn best, find what they like to do, and not be so hard on myself because it's just a
Mm,
day and
mm,
every day is new.
yeah.
So I would say, I don't know if
That's
anyone, could you
great.
relate to that? I don't
Oh,
know.
absolutely. I think that's such a good perspective
Oh,
and point. Totally.
yeah.
Betsy, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me. I'm excited to share your
Yes.
story and yeah,
Oh my
honored that you would
gosh.
take the time to do this. Thank you.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. I've been loving listening to all these mamas and
Oh,
banding
good.
together, from
Yes.
all these different perspectives. So you're doing an amazing job, Bree. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It was such a pleasure to have you listen in. If you'd like more information about this guest and other guests, you can check that out on Facebook and Instagram at Mommispace. And you can also email me at mommispace@gmail.com if you want more details or have any questions or would just like to get in touch. I'm always looking for new connections. Also, it would mean so much if you could leave us either a rating or review or both on iTunes. This just gets the word out about the show. It's a way that we can get more connected with more mamas out there. And it really helps me out as I am doing this on my own. And sometimes I just need a little lift up, y'all. It's good to hear from you that way. Thank you so much again for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing week. Remember, you are loved, you are enough, and you are doing your very best. See you next week, Mama.